Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Icecast, presented by Icebox Glasgow. And we are, of course, the Icy Boys, the Icebox Glasgow team members, myself, John McKellar, and of course, Jamie McDermid. Jamie, hello, and how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. You should address me with my title, though. I've got my title on the screen there for you, John. You're,
The
lu-
Ball
you're,
Lord, Jamie McDermid.
you're lucky because CF2 were flagged them, man. I was going to change it to Vince McMahon, but I didn't.
Oh, maybe we should mention that in passing before we
Aye.
get into today's
Oh, aye.
topic, which is
Aye.
names of
Well, how
games.
Vince McMahon's a
Um,
horrible, horrible piece of shit. Actually, literally a
yeah,
piece of shit.
quite a few days ago, obviously massive allegations came out now, and I think everybody that's a fan of wrestling had known about the whole hush money scandal and all
Yeah.
that, and they had board investigation at WWE before the TKO merger, the merger with Endeavour. Um, but now he's apparently broken the terms of an NDA that he agreed with this girl who worked for the WWE at the time. And so she's been like, well, he's violated the terms of the NDA, so I'm going to sue him for what he's done to me because that means that I'm not beholden to it anymore. So that's what their lawsuit's trying to decide. Essentially, what he's apparently done is he's trafficked her to other WWE employees for sex. He's used her as basically um, he's quite viciously sexually assaulted her repeatedly over a couple of year period, including I think probably the most disgusting and weird of acts is the defecating on her head while she basically shat in the back of her head, I think, while she was being forced to have sex with somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's fucking
which
horrific.
is
It really is.
aye, these are obviously allegations. They're not proven allegations, but that is what's alleged. So yeah, I think it's a hard one for a lot of wrestling fans because obviously Vince McMahon is a name that's synonymous with a lot of people of our generation's childhood, whether it be the kind of early 90s WWF or the Attitude Era WWF. Um, he was obviously a massive part of that, but to see somebody that was such a big part of your childhood be routinely just released as or outed as just such a sadistic, horrific human being, like it's very unpleasant. I just feel bad for the lassie because, like, when you consider what she's been through allegedly, and it's important to always say that it is allegedly, like, no human being should ever have to suffer those indignities. And
Yeah.
what's even worse is, like, at the time this all started, she was apparently grieving the loss of both of her parents and was in a really bad way. And so he just kind of used that vulnerability um, and treated her worse than you would treat a rabid animal. It's just horrific. Um, I don't really think there's much else to say other than fuck Vince McMahon and fuck anybody else that was involved.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Yeah,
just
fuck 'em.
horrendous behaviour. It's absolutely horrendous behaviour. There's no place for treating anybody like that, least of all a young and vulnerable woman. So yeah, fuck that guy. Let's move on to updates. What's the latest on Icebox projects, Jamie? I know that you've been quite sick the last few days, so there might not be a massive amount of updates to come tonight. But obviously, we've got Sound Booth and we've got Bloodbath Burlesque and Sound Booth. The script has finished.
Yep.
So the shooting script, you've had it in your hand. And I
Yep.
know that you've had a couple of meetings in the last couple of days. How's that process going just now?
Fine. It's gone well. I've got bands. Every single band is involved. Is already got. I've sorted that.
That's perfect.
I've signed up. Like I've got another couple of cast members that are pretty much signing on. I've got the lassie that's doing the makeup and that signed on now. I've got the go-go dancers because I've sent out scripts to every single one of them. I've got four that want to do it, so I'm going to try and get the four of them involved rather than two. But because we're obviously times will change with shooting and that, they always fucking do. So it's handy to have four anyway, just in case somebody has to pull it or somebody's got something booked. So there has been a lot of movement on that. I've been kind of working away at it quite feverishly. Nothing really for Bloodbath Burlesque as of yet. Last year I wanted to get all this stuff done first. So hopefully by this week we'll have or by next week, sorry, we'll have the cast nailed down and pretty much most of the crew nailed down. I'll just have some of the bigger crew pieces to go. Then I can start looking at promotion, which I've actually already kind of started on. I've got some really interesting ideas that I can't really say because a lot of them are Easter egg type stuff I'm going to use to promote Sound Booth. And they are kind of started just now. They've kind of started done. I've also got concept artists signed up. I've got people away making art as we speak. So there's a lot going on, definitely. I've not let fucking sickness stop me. I've just been in the house doing stuff. All that's done is basically kept me in the house. So, but there's always fucking something I can do here. So it's all good. It's all kicking off, mate.
So what are the next steps we hear with regards to the film? I know that it's we're almost in February now, obviously, and I know that the Kickstarter program that was due to start between early and mid-February. Is that still on schedule?
No, that won't be because now we'll be looking at May for shooting. Like I said, I knew everything would keep getting pushed, so I'm trying to get it shot for May, which would mean the Kickstarter, the pre-page will go up. We want it up for 4 weeks, so we want it up at the end of February. For 4 weeks, and then we start it nearer the end of March, and then it basically finishes, and where we're going to go for shooting essentially. So we'll need to start working on all that stuff. That's why I had to get the concept artists and that involved as well. Just now, I had to get the bands involved because what I want to do is get a music video of one of the bands, and we'll use that music video as part of the Kickstarter is used to promote that and push that. I've also we'll be using a different cameraman, obviously, or using different camera works for doing the music video side of it, because we can do that with a couple of camera guys that we know. But if that comes out really well, then I'll be using the same guys for the film as well. That will be a test of how well we can film it, i.e. using high definition cameras, GoPros, all that kind of stuff, because a lot of it will be fast moving, and it'll be fast moving in a smaller area. And certainly we also try to control the film itself and the distribution at the start. We'll want to get it in me places. I don't envisage this to be in massive cinemas. It'd be great if it is, but I'd rather it went out to weird venues, weird cinemas, or your private kind of places. Folk like us that used to be in Icebox and watch all the kind of absolute crazy bonkers films. If I can get it in all the places, then that'd be amazing. That's the kind of the hope for it, to control the kind of distribution in that way. And it's our first foray into it, so a lot of this is a springboard to other projects that we're doing. But I want this to stand alone as a fucking just a great piece as it is as itself. So it's changed a lot as I've been doing it, and I hope the changes really come out. I hope the zaniness and the campiness that we want kind of comes out, and how colourful what I want it to be, how loud and in your face I want it to be comes out as well. That's why I think the bands that I've chosen as well will be good bands. So hopefully within the next 2 weeks, maybe even a week, depends, I can release the bands that will be using it. It just means that we can actually say to folk, this is who we're having in it. They have all confirmed that they are part of it just now, but I just want to send further details on them to make sure they confirm it before I go, right, this is the bands we're using. And one goes, oh, actually we can't do it because the drummer can't do it. I'll be like, fuck the drummer, just want use. So it'll be fun. It'll be really fun. I'm looking forward to it now.
Definitely, man. You mentioned a minute ago that some of the cast has been locked in. Do you know roughly what the timescale is before the cast all gets together for the first time?
I'd know 100% sure. Because certainly all the cast, because obviously we'll probably shoot, but the way the easiest probably way to shoot it is to shoot the bits with the bands and the masker scenes and all that. Shoot them as separately and then shoot all the other bits, because they're going to be too crazy to shoot together and amongst it, and then put the pieces together, if you know what I mean. Because the bits will all be, and the two main big fuck off action sequences that involve the bands and that are in the exact same bit with the same type of damage and all that's lying about, the same fucking tables and chairs and that kind of stuff. So we'd probably be shooting all that. Certainly the two big massive scenes, the opening scene and the end scene 1 week, and the other scene. So we're going to have to get probably 2 sets of people together. But hopefully soon, a lot of that stuff as well. A lot of the certainly readings that you can start off doing it online, talking to people online, and then we'll get together for actually readings at a separate time. So again,
because there's so much more that. Because there's so much more that goes into it than just filming it. You know, you've got to get together with everybody. You've got to do wardrobe. You've got to do, like you say, readings, table readings, and then eventually rehearsals before you actually go in and film it.
You'd be surprised, mate. Low budget filming, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of readings, but we don't do like theatre rehearsals or anything like that. There'll be like actual thing with rehearsals of it. There'll be readings, and then we'll just fucking like we used to do with the music videos and that they've done in the Xbox. But we still want to get it as close as possible to what it is in the script. So we'll have to do like a full fucking run through. But we know lots of stages. We can get into lots of venues and actually do that. We can have a full few days of just you know the parts and all the readings and just see how it goes. That's how I've pushed it to the second week in May just now. That might change again. All this stuff changes. I'm not going to rush this. I'm going to do it fucking right rather than rush it. Like if somebody comes in there, we promote it well enough to get offered some more budget as we get closer to the time, it might push it on a wee bit further. I'll be saying to everybody that they know it's potentially second week in May we're starting it. That's when I'm trying to aim it for. But that's if it moves, it'll move further than that. It's not going to be before that. And if it moves and it moves further than that, we'll try and give everybody well adequate enough notice of when it's going to happen. Because I don't want to start changing shit. We certainly know if a main character member can't make it or anything. So that's probably going to be one of the most difficult stuff is making sure that everybody is available if it does move or if we have to chop and change stuff. Certainly because the folk that are in it, the bands will be easy enough because we can shoot their stuff, some of their stuff around it. If you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Or we can at least get the music involved. But certainly main cast members, we don't want to chop and change that stuff. So it's kind of all go, mate. You're right. There is lots of other wee stuff that we have probably forgot about. Again, this is our first rodeo. And I've not been to any other rodeos, so this is actually my first rodeo, mate. So that's why the documentary is going to be good as well, I guess. Which I have been doing quite a bit on. I've been chopping changing stuff.
Speaking of the documentary aspect of it, I know you've been having some problems doing your first video diary entry.
It's fucking weird.
ETA on it?
Some of it doesn't look like I've shot a lot of scenes for it, but it's because I'm doing it myself and a lot of it's done on the camera phone and that as well. Because just it kind of has to have it as natural as possible. But some of it, when you look at it, it's like, fuck me, some of the angles and some of the lighting, that's terrible. And I'm like, this has to be part of the documentary. So even though it has to be natural and it has to be, I'm actually saying stuff as I'm thinking it a lot of times as well, some of it, there was just no way. So I've had to go back and redo certain scenes. This week, there will be one wee bit dropping, and then every week after that, there'll be bits dropping. Hopefully, there might even be like a couple of wee bits a week, but these are only going to be wee 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, wee video diaries that I can just drop constantly. And then they'll be added to other content that we've got. Certainly when we're starting to do readings, we're starting to do makeup tests. There's fucking lots of stuff like that we have to do. And we'll get all that filmed and that'll be part of the documentary as well. So that'll be good.
100%. Yeah, certainly. It's exciting times. That's us kind of getting finally out of this month of January. Nobody likes January. So it's going to be good to get out of January and start moving towards actually putting the building blocks in place. We've started to collect the building blocks together. Now we have to start building the film from it. Let's move on to this week's Names of Games episode, which is the letter C. Before we do, though, quickly, if you want to keep up with the updates and what's happening with the film, go to @Fright Promotions on Facebook, and you'll find us there. And that's where you can go for any updates on both Sound Booth and Bloodbath Burlesque. Jamie, let's get started with Names of Games, the letter C. You wanted to start off with Chase HQ. Tell me about Chase HQ.
Chase HQ was like the first kind of driving game that I ever played. I'm not a big fan of driving games. I'm not a big fan of racing games, but Chase HQ was a classic shooting out your car at the other car, bumping into it. It's just, it's trying to basically you're cops. I think you're cops in it. It's been that long since I've actually played it. Yeah, there you are. I've just checked. You assume the
like
role of a police
Road
officer named Tony Gibson. Yeah, I like Road Rash as well. And you basically chased other cars down and criminals and that.
Yeah.
I actually had this on 2 computers. I had it in the old classic ZX Spectrum 128K, which was,
right.
In fact, it was my second computer when I was a wee bit younger. I had the 48K. This was the classic one with the fucking tape deck that you put the tape in and it screamed. It done the and it loaded up the screen. So I had it on that. And then I had it on the Game Gear, which I loved. I used to love my Game Gear to be handheld.
Yeah. I played Alien 3 on the Game Gear once. That was really good.
I love the Game Gear. I love the wee thingies for it as well, the wee games bit for it. It's been a while since I've even seen a fucking Game Gear kicking about. Like, it's something that I'd love to get again.
I'll tell you, on the subject of Sega, I just bought a new Sega Mega Drive that arrived today.
So did you?
Aye. I've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and NHL 96.
Right, okay.
But yeah, they came today.
Well, weirdly, it doesn't look like this was actually available on them. It was available on the Sega Genesis.
What's that? Chase HQ?
Aye, which is weird that it was available obviously on the Sega Game Gear. And it's weird that because I'm not getting anything up at all for Mega Drive or Master System. Which is you think that's weird that it's available on the Genesis?
Well, I mean, the Genesis is the Mega Drive, so they might just be listing the Genesis as one console.
Right, okay.
The Genesis was the North American name for the Mega Drive, remember?
Fuck, there you go. I did not know that. I thought it was a different fucking game system altogether.
Really?
Aye, absolutely.
Nope, one, mate.
It was also released on something called the TurboGrafx 16. Never fucking heard of it.
I've heard the TurboGrafx, but I don't know exactly what it is. We've actually got a couple of comments here already. Jim Kearney says Call of Duty wins it. I've played Call of Duty. I think it was originally called Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. It was on the PS3, but I played the PS4 remaster.
Right.
It was fine. I'm not really a fan of Call of Duty overall, though.
Against you here, I love Call of Duty Black Ops. Fucking love it. I love it specifically as well because it's got a zombie level on it, and you're shooting zombie Nazis, mate. Zombie Nazis. That kind of says it all, to be honest with you. Never completed it, the zombie Nazi one. They always just get too fast and too furious, unlike the Fast and the Furious. But I loved it. I was actually going to say Call of Duty Black Ops. I wasn't sure if you were going to do a Call of Duty game because I wasn't sure that you weren't into the titles. But at the same time, Chase HQ, I loved it. And when I used to play it again, the thing me doing at the bars when they used to have your arcade, but I played it in there.
Yeah.
I had played it in there initially on the normal one. Then it had the sit in one where you could play it, where you sit in as if it was a wee car, but and then
I had the steering wheel.
Aye. And then I had it for the Master System after all. I know Master System, the Game Gear. So that is definitely a brave first one there. I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, Chase HQ, good one. My mate Mark says, even lads, and says Sega Mega Drive is the best console ever. It's hard to argue that, mate. NHL 94 is where it's at, Johnny says. I do love NHL 94. I believe it was the first hockey video game that I ever played. It was either...
Doesn't it start with a C though, John? Doesn't it start with a C?
Yeah, I know. NHL 94, I think, was the first one I might have played, but I didn't play it until like 95. But yeah, I've got NHL 96 just now, and that's a fun game to play as well. Jim Kearney just agrees with you, says Black Ops is excellent.
Yeah.
My first one I wanted to touch on was a game that turned into like a lifelong obsession for me. Eventually, Championship Manager. I first played Championship Manager 2 or 3 in 1999, and it was just... Obviously, we've all played FIFA growing up, and it's like, yeah, FIFA is pick up and play, and it's fun to beat your pals in. But Championship Manager went so much deeper than that. You know what I mean? Like all the different wee bits and pieces of the management side of things that you could do in that game that at the time, especially in FIFA, you just couldn't do. In FIFA, you could move players around, and that was about it. You could pick the starting 11, but in Championship Manager, you could negotiate loans and fees, and you could hire staff, and you could discipline your players and stuff like that. It was just such an in-depth game that it was just mind-blowing at my age at the time, which would have been maybe 10. I think I was 10 years old when I first played Championship Manager. So I played like Championship Manager 3, I think it was. And then I didn't play it again until season 2001, 2002, which is absolutely legendary. Championship Manager 02 is a legendary game. Phenomenal game. And then I played Championship Manager 5, which was in 2004. And then I played Championship Manager season 2006 to 7 and 8. 2006, 2007, sorry.
Yeah.
And then it was Football Manager. And Football Manager, I play Football Manager obsessively to this day. And it's crazy how in-depth the games get every year. And even though FIFA, and until a couple of years ago when they changed to fucking eFootball, like PES had also opened up the kind of management side of things, none of them still hold a candle to Football Manager and Championship Manager. Just some of the deepest, most enjoyable time sink sports games that you'll ever play.
I mean,
Championship Manager
when they started getting sponsorships and all that, and you had to do that. It started getting ridiculous after a while.
I love that side of things. I love that kind of stuff. Like being able to build a new stadium and all. Like
See, you have to write stuff down in a separate bit of paper. Do a game anyway. It's a fucking job, John.
Mate, they've fixed that. You've got your squad planner now. It's next to useless.
Right, okay.
Aye. It's next to useless though. You're better off just sitting with a piece of paper. Championship Manager though, it grew into a lifelong obsession for me. I loved LMA Manager. I loved Premier Manager on the Mega Drive, and then PlayStation, and Football Manager. I love my management games. What can I say? And Championship Manager was the one that started it all. What can you say, mate? It's a podcast, so we should probably say something. Jim Kearney says I must be weird. I don't like football games at all. No, everybody does, mate. I'm not a big fan of like FIFA now. I loved it back in the day, like back in the 90s, class. But nowadays it's just too. Every year it's the same game. Mark Jones says Championship Manager.
They're the only games that you buy, and within a few months you buy, it goes for like the 70 quid or 50 quid that you've paid for it to a quid. £15. You can't sell it. You can't answer it.
It's £15 new or like £150 for CX. Mark Joss says Championship Manager 2000-2001 taking Aberdeen to the Champions League with Haikam Zerouali. I remember Haikam Zerouali, actually. He was a good player in rescuing Billy Dodds for Rangers for a return to the Dodds. 2000-2001 would have been probably around about Billy Dodds' prime, actually. Or maybe slightly toward the end of his prime, but he was probably only 33, 34 at the time. But yeah, Championship Manager 2000-2001. Good comment, Mark. I think the best I ever did in a Championship Manager game was I took Dumbarton for Division 3 all the way through to the SPL title. It was great because like in Championship Manager on the PlayStation 2, you could sign like decent free agents for no money. Like it was like pennies. Yeah. So I ended up with like I had like Dion Dublin and I think Chris Sutton playing for me. And I was in Division 3 and they were still half decent players. So like they were just banging goals in left, right and centre. And we managed to get up to the SPL and I won the SPL eventually. I never managed to win the European title. The only game I've ever won the European title in was Football Manager 22 when I won the Europa League and the Champions League with Roma in one save.
Right, okay.
But yeah, let's move on. Columns was your next one, mate, and I think Columns is a game that anybody who's ever been anywhere in the vicinity of a Mega Drive will have played and know about because it was a game that came with the Mega Drive in a lot of cases.
A lot of cases it did, or you could get it. Do you remember you used to get it with? Was it Shinobi and something else? There was like 3 or 4. In fact, it wasn't. What was it? It
was Streets of Rage, Revenge of Shinobi. No, you're right. Actually, no, it was Super Kick. No, Super Hang On, Italian 90, and Columns was the game.
Basically, it was all. I think there was 3 games that they obviously couldn't sell separately anywhere. They just weren't selling. And like this, I mean, this was released. It was released originally in 1989 and then released in 1990. But that's when it started hitting consoles and stuff as well. And then after that, it went to stuff like the Atari ST and that. But I loved columns. This is the kind of stuff. This is the kind of game that actually like just I fixate on. Like I could play that for hours and then go to bed at night and fucking dream about columns. It's just one of these kind of crazy games. I mean, it's just like a gemstone variation of Tetris. It's exactly that type of frustrating
100%.
gameplay. We actually had a video in the old the old NHC shop. We actually did a competition where all day we had the game system set up all day, and all you had to do was come in and you had to pick one of the staff members. I was one of them, I think. I can't even remember who the other two staff members on that day. You come in, plays, and if you won, you go £10 credit free to spend. We were drunk because it was like, let's do this, let's just get a drink, let's play people come in. And I was surprisingly shite at it for somebody who played comms for fucking like I felt I've been playing comms for decades at that point.
You call it surprisingly shite. I think all the rest of us call it unsurprisingly hammered.
Don't get me wrong, like nobody was really good at it. Like all the people, the funny thing was, it was the people that were like, "Oh, I played that game. I've played it fucking loads of times." They came in and the game would just upset everybody. Everybody. We didn't actually give that much cash that day. There was a couple of rage quits. Nearly fucking the controllers get flung about the place. But it's just one of these games. It's really fun. You can play it with mates as well. There could be a few of you sitting playing it, get really angry at each other. You can get the two-player own it. You can get the two-player speed match where it just keeps right away for the very start, getting faster and faster on base screens until one of you just absolutely fucks it. And it was one of these games that if you fuck it once, you one thing wrong, that's it. You lose control. It's all gone. The concentrate. Going everything's away.
It'll be bang, fuck, and it just
Oh, it's relentless, absolutely relentless at that point. That's another one. Like it's one that I probably wouldn't think that I would play because you're right. It was a game that was they gave it away for fucking free and that, but at the same time, I think that's why everybody played it, and you either love columns or you hate it. It's like Tetris. I don't think anybody's just like, nah, with Tetris, it's all right. Either you're obsessed with it or you just don't fucking play it at all. So columns is my version of that. Weirdly, there's a columns 2 and a columns 3. I don't know how, because it's surely it's the same. It's like Tetris and Revenge. It's the same fucking game.
I've played columns 3 and it's like different. It's differently skinned and all that, and the music's different.
But it's the same gameplay, I'm assuming.
Essentially, and its essence is still basically the same. They've added a couple of wee bits and pieces, but Columns 3 is not very good, to be honest. I prefer the original Columns. It's simpler, it's fun, it's also quite relaxing if you just take it easy when you're playing it. Obviously, it's quite easy to fly off the handle and go mental at it, but by and large, it's quite a fun game to play. But Columns 3, I wasn't really keen on.
Cool.
But yeah, Columns for the Mega Drive, an absolute classic.
Absolutely.
Alan, speaking of absolute classics, man, Crash Bandicoot was my next one. Obviously, PlayStation decided after Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario that they needed their own mascot character almost, and they came out with Crash Bandicoot. And Crash Bandicoot is such a fun game. The original Crash Bandicoot, hard as fuck. It's like insanely difficult considering that you can when you consider that it was originally essentially marketed for Wayne's. It was meant to be like a kid's platformer game, but it's super fucking difficult, man.
Yeah, I remember
it. Extremely rewarding, but really difficult. It's just class. The graphics for its time were amazing. The platform gameplay, like in 3D, was just, you had seen wee bits and pieces there, obviously with Sonic 3D and all that, but I don't even know if at the time I don't think at the time that Crash Bandicoot came out, the N64 had hit. So there was very little in the way of 3D platform games that to like use as a point of reference. But man,
So
Crash Bandicoot was so class.
Mario World and all that stuff that was a 3D.
I think it was, mate.
Right.
I think so. I think Crash Bandicoot came out either 95 or early 96, right before the N64 hit. Or just as it hit anyway. So there was very little in the way of 3D platform games at the time that came out. So when that came out, man, like it was just insane playing this 3D game with Crash Bandicoot, and you had the apples and all that you pick up, and you dunk, and the wee mad Hurabura guy. Just everything going on at once was just an assault on the senses for a kid. I mean, that guy was probably 8 years old when I first played Crash Bandicoot.
Bloody hell.
So yeah, it was just mental. I don't think I ever played Crash Bandicoot 2, but I did play Crash Bandicoot 3, and that was an amazing game as well. Played a wee bit of Crash Team Racing, obviously. But Crash Bandicoot, mate.
I like Crash Bandicoot. I don't actually remember if I've ever completed it. It might have been one of these games that I just picked up and played for a bit, and then never kind of went back to it because it was a different game. And I had at that point, obviously, PlayStation stuff was when I was more into my horror games. So it might have been something that I've just picked up or I bought cheap, played it for a bit, thought it was good, and then just never kind of went back to it. But that's Crash Bandicoot is one that would have to be in somewhere. So you'd have to have it in there, mate.
Yeah. 100%, man. I don't know if I think I completed the third game, but I don't think I ever finished the first Crash Bandicoot.
I don't think I've ever played any other ones. I played the first one, but I don't think I played 2 or 3.
I don't think I've ever touched I've got Crash Bandicoot 4 on PlayStation 5.
What the hell?
I've not played it. I haven't played it, and I don't think I've played the remasters of the first 3 either. But I finished Crash Bandicoot 3. Never managed to finish the first one.
Right.
But you wanted to, for your last one, I know you've been waiting for this. You wanted to talk about your very favourite video game series of all time, Jamie, Command and Conquer.
I mean, because I fucking love Command and Conquer, John. Like, I've written about it, right, for the wee cut scenes where that's your live action scenes where the kind of talking, Kane's talking, and the thing they're talking as well. I mean, 1995. This bastard was it. Like that was when the first one was it. And I'll count them up now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. There's 24 Command and Conquer games. Now there's a couple of them are like remastered and stuff.
Right, okay.
But no many of them. I'm going to take out, I'm going to cut it down to 22 because I'm going to take out Command and Conquer Renegade because that's super bullshit. Command and Conquer Renegade is essentially a first-person shooter, but you're in the Command and Conquer world, which I thought would be amazing.
Right.
But in my mind, I'd envisioned it that everything, all the army guys were running about, like Star Wars Battlefields like that. It's not really like that. there's very little going on. To be honest with you, you run into the buildings and stuff, and they're shooting guys and that, but there's no any armies or anything kicking about in it. It was a really good idea, I think, for a game, but I think Westwood Studios, Electronic Arts, for Command and Conquer, that was their strength. So when they tried to do a different type of Command and Conquer in 2002, it never got the Command and Conquer fans like me because it wasn't a Command and Conquer game. And the people that weren't into Command and Conquer, that were into the first-person shooters, didn't like it either because they're no Command and Conquer fans. So it's a weird flex. So
I suppose for a lot of people, it's probably similar to Fallout. You had Fallout 2, and they were your kind of point and click kind of RPG style games, old style PC games. And then Fallout 3 comes along, and it's a first person RPG, action RPG. And so that was such a departure, and I know that a lot of people that were fans of Fallout and Fallout 2 really didn't like that change. I think a lot of them obviously grew to quite enjoy Fallout 3 for what it is, because it's a great game and the story is amazing, and like the feel of the world is there. But a lot of people were initially,
I think that was a lot of people were initially
turned off.
Even with the Command and Conquer games, when they go like when they kind of expanded and they moved on and it moved, it's like Friday the 13th, because then it turned into Command and Conquer in space and all that. So it go crazier and crazier as well. But it always kept the same like funness. It was a kind of a war simulation.
Command to Conquer.
Aye, I know. It was like a war simulation building. So it went, like I
Yeah.
loved it when it went to like, the Tiberium Sun and the space stuff. Because at that point there's aliens. You go to build cyborgs. You go to do all this shit. Your
Yeah.
army was just weird. You know what I mean? It was just weird
Mhm.
as fuck.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of stuff then. Certainly, fake Command and Conquer, they used to use the same, even if it's the same engine, Command and Conquer engine,
Mhm.
or you'd see something. Hundreds of games are released in the style of Command and Conquer, which was the exact same kind of thing. You'd build your base, you'd set out your army, you'd make your army, and then you'd take them out to destroy the other army. Like I've told you before about my early memories of like getting your actual telly, taking your telly up to my mate's house, or he'd bring his wee telly down to my house,
That's
and we
right.
set
Yeah.
the tellies up back to back with the
The
PlayStations.
LAN.
Aye,
Yeah.
and we'd play each other that way.
Mhm.
Because you know this was back in the 30s before they had internets and stuff. Uh, uh, so like that, and we loved it. I mean, now I think about it, that's a crazy amount of fucking hassle to go through to play a
Aye.
two-player game. But
Yeah.
it was good because you like you go to the fog of war and stuff as well, so you really
Mhm.
couldn't see what was happening in any other part of the map. You got other games like Dune and stuff like that too that used all the same kind of aspects there.
Yeah.
But in fact, I would even call that they're all after the kind of Command and Conquer engine as such. So the
You bring
exact
that
same
up,
playbook.
and you bring that up as well, and it's obviously important to note just how influential Command and Conquer was,
Absolutely. For the types of game,
because like
it was the
every
starting point.
every like strategy sim game that has come since basically owes part of its existence to Command and Conquer. I think like
Yeah.
that was the one that basically set the blueprint for what these games ended up being. Like things like Civilization, things like Risk. None of these games exist without Command and Conquer.
Yeah. And it go as it went on, it go kind of funnier. You go like the Red Alert, Command and Conquers, but it was set in the kind of alternate timeline. So like where I think it was where the Nazis had been beat, so the Russians took her. Because somebody went back in time, I think, and killed Hitler. It gets that crazy. Stuff does get that crazy in it,
Yeah,
and it starts to use like big actors and stuff in it as well.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Command and Conquer had Tim Curry in it. Apparently, Mark Joss
I
says
Yep,
Tim Curry in Command and Conquer is great. Mark also says that he loved Red Alert.
Red Alert was great.
Uh,
Like, Red Alert was
yeah,
one you could get. You got like psychics in Red Alert that would control other guys'
mhm,
soldiers. No, it was crazy, like crazy. Uh,
yeah,
Russian stuff, Russians in the future, they had lasers and all
mhm,
that kind of shit. It's just like it was fun, fun games. So
yeah.
and it didn't take itself too seriously. So
Mhm. No
yeah,
worries, man. I should actually quickly correct myself. Civilization came before Command and Conquer, but Command and Conquer, I think, was the one that set the blueprint for military strategy
yeah,
sims
aye,
from
and
then on.
military strategy. That's
Uh,
it. And
yeah,
without a lot of the civilization faffing, basically.
aye, yeah. I think Civilization probably changed to mirror a lot of what Command and Conquer was doing early years, if anything. But yeah, Command and Conquer. I've only played wee bits and pieces here and there. I think I told you the story of playing the one that had that guy Seth in it.
Yeah, yeah, he
Um,
did. That's right.
yeah, I played it on PlayStation 1 with my mate Thomas when we were growing up. We only played wee bits and pieces here and there. It wasn't a game that we played a lot of. Back then, we played wrestling and fitba games constantly. We didn't really sit down and play a lot of time-consuming games like that. It was mere battle royals and the wrestling
Aye,
games that we were
the fast
interested in
stuff,
at the time.
basically.
Yeah, absolutely. My last one I wanted to mention tonight for the games starting with C would be Cyberpunk 2077 or Cyberpunk 2077, I should say. It's a game that had a very infamous launch. Obviously, it released in late 2020 to massive, massive hype, but even bigger disappointment. People who had been waiting years, literal years, for this game were left absolutely heartbroken and despairing by its launch. It was buggy, it was unfinished, it was a complete mess. Fast forward to 2023, and the massive expansion Phantom Liberty came out, which stars Idris Elba. Idris Elba's in it. I don't need to say any more. We can just shut it off right now.
Yeah,
We can just we can
fair,
call
mate.
it a night, mate. It's got Idris Elba. But no, Cyberpunk 2077, man, what a great game! It's like an action RPG set in a futuristic world, and you play a character called V, who's a mercenary. It can be either male V or female V, and it's such a great, for a story standpoint, it's brilliant, man. Gripping at times, quite sad and quite heartbreaking. At times, when it dials up the action, it is super frenetic and it's super intense action sequences as well. It's just fantastic. And the world is obviously based on the cyberpunk tabletop RPG, which was designed by a guy called Mike Pondsmith. And it's right up my street, basically. And I just really connected with that game when I started playing it finally in like 2020. I think it was 2022 I started playing it. Because by the time I started playing it, it had mostly been all patched up. And I did play it on PS4 at first. Didn't have a PS5 until September there. Mark says, purchased it on launch, played 2 hours, then put it down because of the bugs, decided to wait until the PS5 patch and uninstalled, and has never reinstalled it. Mark, mate, now is the time. Now that it's completely finished, get that shit reinstalled and play it on PS5. It's so good.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but I know everybody I know that played it initially. Weirdly, it seemed to be there was a massive variation in how buggy it was for some people. Some people it was unplayable, and other people just had wee kind of glitches and that.
Yeah.
But with it, see what you see, there's a good video on YouTube you can get where it does a split screen and it compares what it is now and what it was then. It's fucking stupid different.
Johnny Silverhand's face is all.
And a bit with the car chase and he's trying to shoot. And it's just. It's so different. It's night and day. It's like a different game. It's like a new game, basically. So
it's almost like they remade it rather than patch it. They kind of just remade it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a remake. Yeah, it's crazy how different the game is. Like even just like the progression system and stuff, it's completely different because they just overhauled absolutely every aspect
here.
Made
a better game already.
Yeah, it's so good, man. It's such a smooth game as well. The responsive controls,
that's how you take
variety of different ways to fight. Absolutely,
some people are saying this is terrible. You shouldn't have released this. Like this. You own it. You say we're fucking sorry.
Yeah.
We're going to go away. We're going to fix that. And you did it. It took a while, but when it came back, look at the response. The response was fucking crazy. That is how you move on to something like unlike some of the other games who have just went, we might patch it. What's that vampire one that came out there that had the fastest draw path? I forget what it's called. Nightfall.
The day before.
I know it's a vampire one, but it had the fastest.
Is this that one that you were talking about? Is this the one that was released and then 45 days later it was completely done away with?
Pretty much. It wasn't completely done away with, but it was fucking it was terrible. Like the draw path on Steam was like 90% of players. It just stopped playing.
That's crazy, man.
Because
that's absolutely mental.
It had like one of these full worlds. Like it's a full world. It's brilliant. You can go out and do anything you want. But you out in the full world and there was hardly any vampires. It's maybe a vampire apocalypse, and you cross one vampire every 10 minutes of fucking wandering about. And then you could just stand behind a car, and the AI wasn't good enough to get around the car, so they would just keep walking in the car.
I've got a comment here saying, is that the Bethesda vampire game?
I think it is. I think that's the one.
Bethesda vampire game.
Redfall. That's it. That's the one. There you go.
Yeah,
24% of people like this game.
24% of people like this video game. It's got a 5 out of 10 on Google, on Steam,
and that's good. That it got much worse.
Yeah.
What they've done is they basically promised they were still selling loot crates and stuff, but they wanted to refuse. They were refusing to patch it. Why the fuck would you buy
fucking hell,
for a game?
Yeah,
so we knew that they've finally relented and they started patching some stuff.
Yeah,
but at that point they'd lost so many players and trust. Like nobody trusted them to fix it at that point. So
yeah. And when you look at Cyberpunk 2077, man, that they just straight up refunded people for that were so unhappy.
Yep.
Like PlayStation Network were saying, like, we're not going to sell this game until it's fixed. CD Projekt Red, they took responsibility. They went back to the drawing board and they made this game into. It went from being like one of the biggest disasters in AAA gaming history one of the biggest success stories in the history of video games. And in my opinion, I think it's Keanu Reeves' best ever performance. He plays Johnny Silverhand, and I think it's the best performance he's ever had in any medium.
Wait! Even John Wick 4? Oh,
Even John Wick 4,
right.
mate.
Fucking hell. Wow.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Right, I stand right.
As Keanu would say in John Wick 4, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much all he says in the entire
That's
film, but
pretty
yeah.
much it. Aye, that's it.
That's all you need. That's all you need, mate. When a film is that good, that's all you need. But yeah, Cyberpunk 2077. Jamie, I know you haven't played it yet. Get that downloaded on that
Yeah.
PS4, mate.
Yeah, well,
Get
I
it
probably
played.
will actually. Just
Class, brilliant story.
Actually, aye, fuck it.
But yeah, I think we'll wrap things up there actually tonight. Please do, folks. I'm sure he says that in Youngblood, says Mark Joss. But yeah, that's Keanu's thing. He just says yeah, really intensely. That's all he needs. What was I going to say? Yeah. So with the film and all that coming up, we're going to need some money. So here's where I pitch the Patreon to you. If you want to help us out financially every month, it's only £3 a month if you sign up at Patreon. It's patreon.com/iceboxglasgow. So we would really appreciate some money.
Yeah.
It's going to help. It's going to help us.
Yeah.
You're right there, Jamie.
Keanu.
That was not Keanu.
Fuck up, right?
That sounded more like Vince McMahon.
Oh, Jesus. Right.
You fucked it there, Jamie.
I did. That's fair.
Nate's going to sign up to the Patreon now. I've ruined it. In case anybody does want to sign up, though, it's patreon.com/iceboxglasgow. You'll get exclusive access to the audio version of the podcast, and you can also download it. For fuck's sake, Jamie, fucking Vince, says Mark. Yeah, exactly. This is what I have to work with every week, every fucking Monday.
Fair, mate. That's fair.
Yeah. You're slightly less of a degenerate than Vince McMahon is, though, so we'll give you that.
Slightly less.
Ever so slightly less. But that's all you're getting. Please follow us on Facebook. We've got 2 different Facebook pages worth note. We've got facebook.com/iceboxglasgow for general Icebox updates, and we've got facebook.com/icecastpod for the Icecast page. That's where you can watch the live stream, or if you're watching on demand on YouTube or Twitch, you can find it also on Facebook. We're also on YouTube and Twitch, and it's just at Icebox Glasgow on both of them. We've also got Twitters and we've got Insta. We don't really use them, I don't think, but they're both at Icebox Glasgow as well if you want to follow us on all the social medias. What have we got coming up, mate? We are doing Nirvana's Incesticide next week, which is what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
A fucking class album from 1992. So we're going to look at Incesticide. We're going to do a wee kind of deep dive on that, like we've done a couple of times already. What bands have we done so far? We did Dead Kennedys. Was it Bedtime for Democracy?
Yep. I think it was.
We did B1000 by Guided by Voices. Then we did the excellent The Shape of Punk to Come by Refused. Did you manage to stream all your War music yet, or is it just that one song?
I've listened to a couple of tracks off it. I listened to the one you sent us through, and I listened to another one. I think it was the one after that. I think it was the song after it.
Right.
Because I listened to it on YouTube and it automatically played the song after that. So I both good tracks. I'll definitely need fucking get a full listen through.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But so yeah, we're going to do Nirvana next week. We're doing Incesticide. Looking forward to that. That was a very massive part of my teenage years, that album. That and then Utero.
Yeah.
After that, we'll be doing the letter D for Names of Games, which I think that's the first time I've actually managed to get it right, despite the fact that
I think it is.
I've known the alphabet for almost 35 years, and that's me just getting it right. And then on the 19th of February, we're going to do something that I don't know how this is going to turn out, right? So there's this film, I think 2016, and a colleague of mine at work, Big Graham Clark, he said, watch The Greasy Strangler. And then I thought, right, so he showed me the trailer. And then after he showed me the trailer, I thought, right, this is something that Jamie and I should watch, and we're going to do a podcast on this. So we're going to do that in person. So Jamie and I are going to watch The Greasy Strangler together, and then we're going to record the podcast reviewing it immediately afterwards. So that one won't be live. We'll just record it whenever we get a chance to. But that's going to be on the 19th of February that'll go out.
Yeah.
I have no idea how this is going to go. For the trailer, it looks like the film's quite fucking weird. And when I asked you And I say, and you say to me, it's too weird even for you. So it's
I've
going to
never
be.
watched it. I've never watched it because anytime I seen the trailer, I was like, hey.
Yeah.
I was like,
we're going to have to. We're going to have to take a shower between watching it and then the recording. Separately, separate showers, obviously. No, together.
Obviously, obviously.
You both join. I'll be like, I'm the greasy strangler, Jamie. You're like, stop it. Anyway,
that's
coming up on the 19th of February. And then, of course, on my wee boy's birthday, the 26th of February, we'll be playing Names of Games to letter E. Bullshit, that's my boy's birthday, so that probably won't be live either. I'll probably have to pre-record that one.
That's fair.
In the meantime, thanks, Jamie. It's been a pleasure, and I shall see you through the week.
Right. I'll see everybody later. Bye-bye. Bye.